didn't tell your employer that you had a medical marijuana card. Or your employer knows you have a medical marijuana card. It doesn't matter. You can only be terminated or disciplined from your employment if you are work while under the influence of marijuana. Kind of like driving, which wasn't the segue I intended, but as far as driving goes, let me tell you this. This is an extremely controversial area of the law for no apparent reason. The Arizona Medical Marijuana Act makes it specifically states that you can only be disciplined, convicted, whatever you want to call it, for driving if two ways. If you have a drug in your system and it's not prescribed to you, so in other words, you stole Ann Handy's one of her Vicodin, or two, you are actually under the influence of marijuana, which is very difficult to prove and very, very, very subjective. In Colorado, they have a law that says if you have, I believe it's, well, so many nanograms of THC per milliliter in your system, it is presumed that you are under the influence or intoxicated. Just like the Arizona driving law says if you have over 0.08, it is presumed you're driving under the influence of alcohol. So here's another tip. It applies for DUI as well as for marijuana or anything else. If you're ever stopped by the police, one of the questions they will ask you is on a scale of 0 to 10, tell me to what extent your driving was influenced by the substance that you took. If you say 1, they'll take you to jail. The only correct answer, if you want to avoid being arrested, is 0. I am not affected by this. And then, if you get to the point where they ask you to do field tests, what I would tell them is, look, I couldn't walk a straight line, I have very narrow feet, I couldn't do it on my best day, and I'm not going to be able to do it now, so I'm not going to do it, and you can't make me do it. And then they can, but if they ask to do any type of blood or alcohol test, consent, because you will lose your license automatically if you don't consent. But don't hang yourself by trying to talk your way out of any of this stuff. Yes?
And you also don't want to pull out your card and say,
No,
oh, I'm patient.
I don't think that taking out your card and is a bad thing. The cop says to you, I smell marijuana on your breath. Or it smells like marijuana in your car. Don't give them permission to search your car, but I would show them my car. I wouldn't admit that I had smoked marijuana at any specific point in time, and certainly not in my car. But if it's on my breath, it doesn't mean that I'm driving under the influence of it. So keep those issues in mind. People come to me with a lot of housing issues as well. They live in apartments, they get hassled by their landlords, the landlords try to throw them out, they feel intimidated. They don't do that, you don't have to do that. Show them your card, call me if they give you a problem, or call some other lawyer. They cannot discriminate against you. The only way they can discriminate against you in both employment, other than what I've told you, and housing is if it's in a federally subsidized housing project, or you work in a munitions factory or some company that does work for the federal government. Yes?
If a caregiver has a card, can the patient go with them to the dispensary?
Yes. Yes.
If they have a card, right?
If the patient will have a card.
No, I'm talking about the patient doesn't have a card. He has a caregiver.
No, he still has to have a patient card.
You can't have a caregiver if you don't
Without
have
a card, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the caregiver has the card.
They both have
The
cards.
patient has.
Oh, okay.
They both have cards.
I
Don?
can ask, About driving, I've always been told, or I must have gotten information from someone else, but my plan of attack, would, you're as polite as possible.
Yeah.
You're constantly asking about, am I free to go?
No.
Right, you want to get out of there. But I was told too, and like what you said with the field sobriety test, we physically can't do it. But I've always been told to not submit to the blood test.
No, you lose your license if you.
Okay, it's suspended. It's
Yeah,
suspended.
that's automatic.
Okay, it's suspended for 1 year.
Yeah.
Okay, do you still get a DUI?
Oh, yeah. They can still charge you with the DUI. They'll have a little bit more
I was
trouble
told that the
convicting
penalty
you.
then and the fines, it would be different. You automatically lose it for a year, but you're not under the same umbrella.
If it were me and I had a choice, I'd rather be convicted of DUI and lose my license for 3 months than lose it for a whole year.
Well, how
So you
often-
mean submit to?
I look at it,
That's why I would submit to the test.
honestly, how often do you get stopped and get your driver's license checked? You drive for years and you don't even get
Yeah.
pulled over. And I look at the illegal, no license, no problem. You just behave yourself and don't get in a wreck. And you're not gonna get-
Well, they have all these DUI checkpoints. It's real easy to say I'll never be stopped by a cop until they stop you. Back there,
Even with your license, isn't there a certain amount you have to be carrying?
let me explain that if Butch didn't do that. You're only allowed to have 2.5 ounces of marijuana at a time.
Which is
Yes.
a lot. It's a lot.
And you're allowed with your card to buy 2.5, up to 2.5 ounces every 2 weeks.
When you travel by air, would you have your marijuana in your carry-on or in your stowaway?
Check
I would put it in my check-on luggage with my card.
that.
Copy of your card.
Yeah, I would check it in.
Yeah.
Your card and I would put your marijuana and your card together in your luggage that you check.
Put it in an airtight container, not
Yes.
metal,
Yes.
but a good airtight, because that's what, all of a sudden, the whole airport is stinking because I got my.
Just about
Double bag.
3 baggies, use 3 baggies. Wash your hands every time.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. I just want to say one other thing, Sora, and then I'll come back to you. Okay, Sora? I'll come back to you. I actually, and I have a website, and a lot of these questions are on there, but the answers to the questions, but I actually contacted the TSA, and I contacted the Phoenix Police Department, and I asked them, what would happen if you found marijuana in my possession or in my luggage at Sky Harbor Airport? And what they said was very simple. We turn it over to the local police.
What was that?
They turn it over to the local police department, which is a lot better than trying to be prosecuted by the feds for violating a federal law or something like that, because you have marijuana. And so if you got busted here, and